Last year, I was invited to an altitude training camp in southern France by the running brand Hoka and spent 2 weeks living with a group of Olympians and elite runners. During this time, I was able to observe the daily habits of some of the best runners in the world and took a lot away from it to both implement into my own running and share with others through JOG ON. One particular person in the group I lived with was Simon Bédard, a professional French runner.
And Simon Bédard with a 13:31 personal best.
Now sponsored as a full-time athlete, I witnessed Bédard's unflinching focus as he ran twice a day, every day, in his pursuit of running excellence. On the very last day of my time out there with Simon, I decided to sit down with him and ask some of the bigger questions about his life and career so far. What follows is that conversation.
That's a good question. I don't know, maybe the 10.
We talked about Simon's drive to win.
I hate losing. I don't like losing.
His unshakable confidence in his big races.
If I start the last lap in front, almost no one could catch me.
Even when running in front of 60,000 people.
That was like, oh, okay, damn, that's crazy.
Some of his best moments.
At that point, that was like the craziest moment of my life, definitely, yeah.
And his worst.
I had a phone call from the French Federation saying, I'm sorry, Simon, they all declined for the meeting, they didn't want to take you back. I was shocked, I was like, angry.
If you're watching this episode, know that you can also listen to JOG ON with any podcast app. And if you're listening, you can watch the video version on YouTube. All links are in the show notes and video description. So please, welcome to JOG ON, Simon Bédard. 15 or 16 is around middle school when you started to take running a little bit more seriously. Do you remember all of a sudden realizing you were quite good? Was it because you found a social element with your club? Like, what was it that got you into running at that stage?
No, that was actually a surprise because I liked running. I liked races pretty much, but I never raced. I was just playing soccer. I ran quite a lot in the soccer field. I was just like focused on soccer and I was not thinking about running at all. It's just with, in France, like in the UK, we have some cross-country races in middle school. And I started with that. And I was not even good. Like I was like far away from... I was a decent runner, but not great. You know, in my state, I was finishing like 100 and something, nothing great. And it was just my last year of middle school because every time in my middle school, I was finishing second. There was a guy that was better than me, but he was same age as me, but he was like a grade above. And when I was a senior in middle school, he was already in middle school. So I won the middle school cross country. So I was like really happy with that. And I think that because of this first win of my life, I was more motivated with running. State cross country, finished 7th, and was crazy because I was qualified for like France cross country, which was like huge for the school because almost like no one made it.
Wow.
And I was really happy. And so my dad decided like, oh, let's run twice or like 3-4 times before the national so you get ready. And the goal was just to do top 100 because this is like really, really strong field. And I don't know what happened. I felt good all the way through, and I was picking up, and I finished second, like pretty much out of nowhere. My dad would say, "Oh yeah, that's good," but he didn't know like the level or whatever. And some of his friend that was like a sport teacher say to my dad like that was really good because he beat some really, really good like decent runner. So yeah, that's really how that starts. But I was more focused in football still. It's more like at a point I had to make a decision, let's say like around 17, 18 years old, if I really wanted to be in a running or in a football. And I had way more like talent on running than football. So this is why I decided to pick running, let's say.
Was that a difficult decision though? Because you have a passion for football. Was that a hard choice to make?
Pretty much like kind of a hard choice because like I like football. Like I'm like a big fan of football. But the thing is, I start realizing when I turn like senior for soccer,
right.
For football, sorry, I always say soccer since
that's okay. That's okay.
I lived in America for a while. At that age, when I was 18, I decided to say like, no, I need to focus on running because this is where I'm more competitive in terms of the level I was, and I knew that I could not have like a career in football, and I was pretty good at running, let's say. So I say, let's go in running. And one of the things I didn't like at that point at football, at the level I played, because I was playing like at state level, not national level. It's like a team sport, which is great, but some make more effort than others. And let's say like if I want to be ready for the game, I do everything in terms of food, sleeping and training. Some like don't do like those stuff and they don't play as good as you, let's say. And let's say if you play like the best game of your life, you can still lose the game. And I was really competitive and I hate losing. I don't like losing. Even if we play cards or any games, I want to win every time. And the thing is like when you do the job, your team lose and some of the guys from the team are like, oh, it's fine. Let's celebrate anyway. We don't care. There is another game next weekend. I didn't like this kind of feeling, you know. So that's why like in terms of running, it's only you pretty much. So if you make a mistake, if you don't sleep well, if you don't train well, that's going to impact the results. But if you do all the job pretty well in training and everything, then the result's going to be great. So that's why I was more into running.
So you're kind of attracted to the idea that it is a solo sport, that how successful you are is based on you and you alone. You like that idea?
I like that idea, yeah. Even if when I was younger, I could have not be alone at all. Like running, that could have not been my sport because like I love football and I could not like... When I was, let's say, 10 or 12, I think I will not like enjoying running. I like being with my friend, playing and stuff. But now we can't really say it's a solo sport because I think you get way better having a team surrounded by you. Like that's why like I like that, like to go training with the guys and not being on myself.
Did you love running from the very earliest days, or did the love and the passion for it come more as you started to win more and more? Did it build over time?
That built over time because that's why like that was not my passion of like let's go for a run. And one of my confidence I can tell you now is like I'm not a big fan of training. I love competition, I love races, but like if I could be good in a race and competition without training, I would never train. But I have to train to be good, so I'm training.
When you're training, do you use the race as motivation? Do you think about the race as the reason why you get up and why you train?
Definitely. Some people just race like not every 3 months, but for 6 months, sometimes they just don't race. They just train to be ready for that point. And I could not do that. Like, I mean, this is pretty much what's happening right now. My last race was like pretty much 3 months ago.
And that's a long time
That's a long time for me. And it's hard to be motivated. That's why that was really hard. Like after my break to come back, I was still like, you know, enjoying my vacation, not really be focused at running, still enjoying like my friends, going everywhere and everything, because like my goal was so far ahead and I can't like be motivated at training if like I don't have like a competition coming soon. So yeah, what I love is like competition, race days and everything. Of course you have to train to be good, and it's not like that you can be good. So that's why I have to be like consistent at training and everything, but I need to have like this small target pretty.
That makes sense. If you could sort of plan the perfect amount of times you race, how often would you like to race? Once a month, twice a week, like once a year? Like what's the perfect amount for Simon to race?
Let's say every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks,
yeah, because you can, or every 3 weeks, because you can still train a little bit in between and recover from the race. Racing every week could be hard, but yeah, every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, this is pretty much the sweet spot for me.
Does it make much of a difference as to whether that's a 1,500, a 5,000 or a 10,000? Does it take more out of you if it's been a 10,000 race, would you find?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you can run a 15 pretty much, not every day for a year, but like in a short amount of time, like if it's within 2 or 3 weeks, pretty much you can race like within 3 weeks, you could race like 5 15s rather than a 10K. Like you have to recover from that. It's not like the old days, let's say like pre-super shows or whatever, when you have to take like 2 or 3 months to recover from that race. I think from a 10K, you at least need like 3 weeks to recover. And you're not gonna race like 10Ks in a year. Rather than a 15, like you check like 15 guys, they run like maybe 15 15s or 20 15s during the year, rather than people running 10Ks. They rather run like between 3 to 5, no more than that.
That's the same with once you get up to marathon.
Exactly, marathon.
2 a year, it's fine.
2 a year, that's good enough.
Any more, you're gonna
your
legs will fall off. Exactly. So you move from cross country and sort of really find your feet on the track and start to discover success on the track.
Yeah.
Did you quickly work out where you wanted to be in terms of 1,500, 5,000, 10,000? Could you sit here and say now, this is my favorite distance, this is where I feel I'm the best? Do you know?
I didn't know. I know that before I was more like a 8 and 15 guy. I was more a miler when I was younger. I started running track, let's say 2 years after I really started running. So I started running track when I was 16, 17 years old. And it's more when like I transferred to the US that I discovered the longer distances.
That leads me in perfectly because I was going to ask you about the US. For people who don't know, you actually spent 6 years in America. How was it that you spent 6? Because that's a long amount of time. Some people go over there for a year, 2 years, even 3 years. But you went out there for 6 years. Why so long?
I was not planning to stay that long. I was more planning to stay a year or two, no more than that. My big decision to move to the States is because I wanted to have this double project, which is school and running, because I think it's really important to have a degree, especially we are not like footballers, we're not making millions, so we need to secure this like future. I think like studying was really important, and I didn't want to make a decision in between, because in France it's really hard to do both, because school is really hard, and at university, they really don't care if you practice your sport or not. I remember when I started university in France, I had 35 hours a week of school without counting the homework or everything.
Wow, yeah.
So that was really hard to go and train, and especially I was on myself, and especially like for winter, it was like really dark out. Really cold, raining, try to go on my own at like 6 or 7 p.m. That was really hard. And after those 2 years, I decided like I need to move. Like I can't stay here. And that was great because like maybe 5 to 10 coaches contact me and offer me a scholarship to go to the US. So that was the perfect timing. And this is why I say like, let's go to the US. Let's try to have like this double project and see how it goes. I really liked it, and I stay as long as I can.
It's a huge period of your life. It's an amazing amount of time. 2 questions really, but first question, Simon, is what was your English like when you went over to America to begin with compared to now?
Terrible. I was not able to have a conversation in English. No, I was really, really bad. So thanks God, when I first got there were some French people that helped me to translate and helped me to communicate with the English and American people. But yeah, that was really, really bad. But I picked it up pretty fast. Like let's say after like 3 or 4 months, I was able to communicate myself, understand what people was telling me, even if the English was really, really bad, but still able to communicate. And that's why I think it's really helped to go in a country. That was great to learn English, and I knew that was something that would come back with me, even if the experience is not good in America, I will still come back by speaking English.
And now that you start to travel more and more as a professional athlete, you must find that this is an incredibly useful tool to be able to communicate, because you go, whether it be Night of the 10,000s or something, to be able to communicate must be huge, and for interviews as well.
Exactly. It's great for everything, even for traveling, for personal life, for everything. Even when you try to look for some content in internet, there is way more information in English than in French, of course. Half of the population speak English. When I say like in the world, it's really important. English is really, really important. So I'm really happy I can speak English. I wish I could speak Spanish as well, but I don't.
Maybe next.
Maybe next
when you turn 30, third language. So, I mean, as I say, it's a huge period of time, massive positive. You learn English, and obviously you had some great performances out there. When you look back on America, is it mostly positives? Are there any negatives? How do you think of that time in America?
I think if I will go back again and try to make it a little bit different, I would just do it the same, because that was great. I lived like a crazy experience. That was like 6 years of my life. That was like a quarter of my life that I live in America. So it's like, it's huge. Yeah, I lived pretty much the American dream, what you can see in the movies and stuff. And I was really happy. Some of my friends are like, wow, that's crazy what you just did. But they all know that's based on the running. Is like, I work hard to get that. Maybe the downside of the US, you get a scholarship, so you go for free. They pay the housing, the food, and everything. So you have to be part of the team and follow what the coach say. So it's not like your personal objective. So let's say now as a pro runner, my goal is, for example, go to World Champ, European Champ, Olympic Games, whatever. I can't really do that in the US, because the coach really wants to be good for conference, regionals, nationals, like all those kind of race. You just have to follow the team's goals and the coach goals. We all train in a huge team in the US. Wherever you go, it's just great.
Now, having left America, do you feel like you've been able to take away some of the training methodologies that you learned out there? And have you been able to apply things that you learned out in America to your own training? Have you come back from it a sort of more knowledgeable and a better runner?
Yeah, definitely. Also, like when I first got there, I was like 20 years old. So I was younger. I'm 27 now. So I know way more about my body and what training can do to me. When I was in France before to go to America, my mileage was, for example, really, really low. I was doing like 70K a week, which is like 45 miles a week, which is really low, and I stand up to like 130k a week, which is like 75 miles, and that jump make me way better. And that's why I moved from 15 to 5K, 10K guy. Through the years, I'm more like a 100 miles a week guy. But I know, for example, we are doing some long runs and like 18 miles, like 29, 30K. And that was way too much for me. And I find that after 2 or 3 years in the US, that this is way too hard for me and is not really beneficial because it takes a lot out of me to recover from that. So now, for example, for a long run, I found the sweet spot of 26K, which is 16 miles. So I'd rather go slightly shorter, but I know that I'll recover better from that. It's great having like this experience of American training versus the French training, because the American training is more like mileage, lot of mileage and less like quality work, rather than France, that more the difference is like less mileage, but more quality work.
Just trying to find that balance and what works for you personally as an athlete.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, as you're coming out of America, you go and run at the World University Games and you run in the 5,000 there. Talk me through that experience. You had a very, very good race there and a very dramatic finish, which I've watched on film. That day at the World University Games 2021, did you think that gold was possible? What were you thinking?
I knew that was possible based on the PBs from the other guys. I don't know if it was the 4th or 5th time from the people qualifying for world universities. So I knew that was possible. My goal was to do top 3, be on the podium, come back with a medal. That was the big goal. I kind of knew based on my finish, if this is a slow race, I definitely can win it because I know I'm fast. Some people are faster than me, but I'm really confident with my finish.
You got a good kick at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So I was really focused on like try to win the race as much as possible. Yeah.
Bédard on the inside with the headband, and now the move is coming. Bédard moving. Bédard will hit it in front.
When you were coming into that last lap, you're looking aggressive, you're attacking hard. Do you remember how much energy you felt like you had in that last lap? Were you feeling, or was it really hurting at that point? How did it feel?
It was hurting, but I knew if I start the last lap in front, almost no one could catch me. And at the bell lap, I was first. What I love in like big stadium, you can see the screen, so you don't have like to go check behind. You can just keep running and see if people are following. And I was able to see that we are only like 4 people. In my head, I was like, no, Simon, there is no way you can't finish 4th. So I like keep pushing. And I saw a guy like try to pass me. I tried to resist against him. I was not able to resist. He was really, really strong. And I think he passed me like 150 to go.
He tries to come round the outside and may have cut inside of Bédard, who has to just clip his stride.
I checked again in the screen and I saw that we were only 3 people. And it's like, okay, cool. I have a medal, but now I need to fight for the first one. And I know I have like huge kick, let's say. And I was really confident. So I say, okay, let the guy pass you. And then in the last straight, kick him. And when I tried to catch him, it was impossible to catch him. I was coming back on him, but so slowly, I was like, there is no way.
Has he got the legs to get to the line? The Frenchman is fighting. Bédard is coming.
30 meters to go. And we stay like at the same level for like the last 30 meters.
Can he get there? Yashihara to the line, and Bédard takes it on the line.
But I was not sure. So when I crossed the line, let's say I was like 60-70% confident that I won, but I was not sure. I really wanted to check the board. That took like a minute or so to get the result. Yeah. And that was maybe the longest minute of my life. So I was just waiting, praying like for the board. And when I just saw my name, like I just like fell on the ground.
Goal for France!
After that, whether it be Brittany or France in general, did you get like a nice response from that? Did you find that you got some nice messages from people? Did it feel like a big step forward? And from America, did it kind of wrap up America quite nicely?
Yeah, I think that was the first time of my life that much messages from people, and that was crazy. People can put you in the stories. There was that many people that I was not even able to check how many people notified me in their stories. So yeah, that was like. At that point, that was like the craziest moment of my life, definitely, yeah.
Even at this point now, as we sit here and you're 27 years old, do you still look at that as one of, if not the greatest moment of your running career so far? Where do you rank that?
I think so, yeah. That's still crazy, and I can say like I've been world champion one day, even if it's only university, but it's still like a world champion title. So
I think often people misunderstand how high level the World University Games are.
Yeah.
I think when you put that word university in, some people kind of just got to go, oh, but actually don't realize it's such good quality.
Yeah, it's good quality.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Simon, You're now a full-time athlete, which means you literally don't have another job. This is your job, to run, to train, to rest. How long now have you been full-time?
So now it's been slightly more than a year, so it's pretty much right after university games.
We'll talk about like what your daily life looks like, because people are fascinated by the idea of someone who runs full-time. But first of all, do you feel like you suit the life? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it. Like, just like, that's the dream job. Like,
It's perfect.
like, it's perfect. And I'd say less than maybe 1% of people have this kind of job, like what they really want to do, what they dream of. I get paid to run, pretty much. It's crazy to say that. It's perfect life for me, yeah.
What does a day in the life of Simon look like? If you can kind of talk us through, you tend to be doubling, so doing 2 runs, 2 sessions. But talk us through roughly what a day would look like, and how important to you is the whole recovery and rest element as well.
That's the big difference between someone who can run as a pro level and someone, let's say, at national or state level. The recovery is really, really important, because like, I won't run more than 3 hours in a day. Because of course, like, I'm not a machine or whatever. And so yeah, 3 hours. So people say, oh, if you run 3 hours a day, you have way more time to run, like, just work like 7, 8 or 9 hours a day. Like,
You could do a job.
Yeah, you can do a job on the side. Yes, but no, because like the recovery is key. Usually like a daily life is like waking up at like 8 a.m. Sometimes taking like a small breakfast and go for the first session leaving around 9, 9:30, 10, it depends. Sometimes it's like 30 minutes driving, depends where we go. By the time I have like to warm up, do drills, do the session, cool down, coming back, it takes actually between like 2 and sometimes 3 hours. So I come back here around 12, shower, I cook, and around, let's say, 2 or 3 p.m. I like to take a nap. Let's say 30 minutes nap, that's a sweet spot for me. And after, like, I had to go back again. We around 5 p.m. for a second session. And usually I come back at 6:30, 7. Sometimes I like to go see a physio. So we have a physio like for the training camp. That's great. So I can see him pretty much once a day or several times a week. Or sometimes go to do ice bath, hot tub. And then it's already like 8 p.m. So I have time to cook, to eat, and go to bed. And that's the day. So some people ask me, oh, you must get bored during the day. I don't have the time to get bored. Like, every day goes really, really quick, every time. And I always find something to do, actually. So
you're happy with this? You don't ever think to yourself, it would be nice to go play a quick game of football or play some tennis or something? You've kind of got used to that now?
Yeah, I'm used to that now. Like, I know, like, I could, like, I'm 27, like, in 10 years from that, I could do whatever I want. And I compare myself to, like, let's say, other people that have a job. It's completely different, because I remember, like, I'm sometimes with friends, and like on Sunday night, I'm with them, and it's like, tomorrow I have to wake up at 7 and I have to go back to work and everything. It's like, it's annoying. I like this kind of thing. It's like training, but I feel like it's like I have a chance because I am in the mountains, like, really with nice people. I feel like it's more like vacations, even if it's like training and training hard. So for me, it's not like sacrifice. I really like what I'm doing and I really enjoy it.
Obviously, the way that it tends to work with athletes is they get a contract, often with a sponsor, and the sponsor, therefore, is allowing them to be full-time. Do you find that, you haven't been doing it long enough maybe to fully answer this, but do you think for professional athletes, there's an element of stress because they have to always feel like they have to perform, they have to be ticking certain boxes, they have to be achieving certain times to maintain the sponsorship? What do you think of that scene? Do you think that athletes come under some pressure to always have to race well to maintain the contract to be full-time? What's that like?
Yeah, that can be stressful because, of course, if you're not performing, depends how is your contract looks like. Some contract, they have like bonuses, maluses. So let's say if you don't qualify for Worlds, your contract can be divided by 2. So if you're like injured, that can be like an issue, or if you're not performing. So that can be really, really stressful. I can speak personally. I'm with Oka, I signed a contract, and what is great with them, there is only bonuses. So I have a base fee. So let's say if I don't do anything for a year, my salary won't be cut. So this is a great thing because you can work like peacefully. Let's say because not everyone is like 100% like all year long. You have some downside, you have some injuries that you can't like avoid or whatever. And having this thing, for example, like when you get a surgery or whatever, or an injury, you're not stressed or like try to come back really fast and maybe being injured right after again because you come back too quick. And this is a great thing with Oka is like, They know like injuries are part of the process. I need to train, I need to perform, and the more I perform, let's say, the more I get paid or whatever. And which is also a game pretty much, because like, you know, if you hit this kind of standard, this kind of time, or if you qualify for this kind of championships, you can have more and more money. So it's just like kind of a game that you have to say like, oh, this year I have to run that and that. And so this is, I'm a competitor, so I love that. So I'm trying to run as fast as possible to, of course, like get even more money or whatever, even if that's not obviously the first goal of getting the more money, but pretty much the faster you run, the more money you get. And what I like is, Oka doesn't have malices, so you can have like a down year or whatever, and they still be here for you and supporting you. So that's what I love about that.
JOG ON is beginning to offer more resources to help you improve with your running. From free cheat sheets to effective training plans, you can find it all at thisisjogon.com. I want to talk about your times specifically, Simon. 1500, 3:38, 5000, incredible 13:15, only 10 seconds off the Olympic qualifying time in Paris, which we'll touch on, and 10,000, 27:42. I mean, looking at the 5,000, 10,000, where do you feel like you've got the most room for improvement over the coming year, 2 years? Where do you think you could perform the best in?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe the 10, because the longer is it, the more seconds you can win. It will be interesting to see how I will perform on both distances. But I think I have something to do on the 10, especially if I work more like about the aerobic and be stronger and stronger. I think this time can go down.
With 5 and 10, you have the option of road and track.
Yeah.
How interested are you in performing really well on the road as well as track, or are you still track focused? Where's your mind at between track and road?
I do think personally I can run faster on the track than on the road, because I'm more like kind of a guy that's like to be constant. So what I love about 10K is 25 laps. Some people that say like, you're just crazy to run that. Like, you're just insane. But I love the fact that you can control the pace. I run 66.5, and I know like every lap I have to be 66.5 going through the 400 every time, I know. And I love math, so I always count, and I always know where I am. So even after 4K, if I am like 2 seconds ahead, 2 seconds behind, I know everything. And that keeps me really focused. Rather than the road, is more like running the feeling. If there is people like, let's say 30 meters in front of you, you rather like speed it up, catch them, rather than running by yourself. That's way easier. So that's why I prefer the track. It's more control, going to the pace, just following the pace and see how it feels. And that's why I just love the track. Now I'm happy to go to cross country and road races, but in 6 months I'll be sick of it and I can't wait for track again. So it's just like, it's changing every time. This is what I really like.
That's really interesting. And then maybe when you finally get into your 30s and move through, then you can kind of review that and see whether you become more road or what that balance is like. If I ask you like where your heart sits and where you have that kind of deep-rooted passion, will you always kind of have that fondness for cross country because that's kind of where it all begins for you? Or are you now like track is what I am? Or how do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm more track runner, I'll say, because cross country, I don't think I'm a great guy for cross country races, because the way I run, if the more muddy it is, the harder it is for me. So I prefer track, let's say.
How are you with the pressure of the race? Are you someone who does quite well at performing? Do you like that kind of, you've got the crowds on you, maybe there's cameras, maybe you can hear the stadium announcers if you go to the big ones with the big screen and stuff. Do you ever find those moments kind of overwhelming and you have to sort of like calm yourself, or are you quite good at handling that pressure?
I think I'm quite good, but it's always like impressive to having like all those cameras and everything. For example, Europeans 4 months ago, that was pretty impressive to run in a stadium with like 60,000 people in it. That was like, oh, okay, damn, that's crazy. I need to be focused on what I'm doing. And of course, like I think like everyone is impressed by their first run in this kind of area. After the more I run with like this number of people or big competition, the less I will be stressed, of course. But I'm kind of guy who's like not really stressful. I am stressful, but it's a good stress. I don't lose my mind on the start line or whatever. Like this is like really positive stress. I prefer that they don't talk about me at all before the race. I'd rather be the guy like
the underdog.
The underdog, yeah. Sorry, I was looking for this word. I want to be the underdog. Like someone they don't talk to me about it, and then I perform rather than they all say like, oh yeah, Simon is the favorite of the race or whatever.
Simon Bédard.
Yeah, I think that will put too much pressure on me.
The hope of France.
Yeah. So I like when someone like doesn't even calculate me. Even someone, they say like, oh yeah, he's not good enough to be here. And I love that because I want to prove the reverse. So I'm like, okay, I will show you that I deserve to be here, and I'll show you that I can beat you, let's say.
That's really, really cool. Yeah, I like that attitude. You touched on the Europeans there.
Yeah.
This is something I wanted to bring up with you. The Europeans almost didn't happen for you. This was big news in France, certainly in Brittany, for example. But maybe for people listening in England who wouldn't be so aware of this, can you kind of give a very brief kind of overview of what happened and why you nearly didn't go to the Europeans?
Yeah. So first of all, I run 3 times the standard on the 10,000. So
what was the standard then?
So that was like pretty much like a B standard was 2820, and the A standard that was 2750. But yeah, I run twice under 2750, so I had the standard anyway. They forgot to select my name. I don't know what they have to do. I don't know what they do, but it's a process. They have to select everyone, and they forgot my name. But the thing is, like, they realized that after the deadline, the French team, like first, like French Federation, lied to me by saying that's just like a computer bug. They just say, oh, no worries, it's a computer bug, you're in or whatever. But that was not, that was their fault. And they admitted like 2 days after that to me. They called me, they apologized and say, I'm sorry, we're going to fight for you, whatever. And they had like meetings with like European administration, federation.
What was your reaction to it at this point when you didn't know what was happening? What was your reaction? What were you feeling?
I was shocked. I was like, how can you miss to select my name like that? That's crazy, because that's like a huge championship. Like that's a crazy mistake. I was really like angry, but I was pretty confident of that. But then they say, yeah, we have like a private meeting, a special meeting with European athletics tonight, so we let you know. So yeah, that was pretty hard. So I did train that day, but I was like, okay, yeah, let's frustrate this hunger. So I was really hard on the run.
Sprinting down the road.
And then I remember at 6 p.m. I had a phone call from the French Federation saying, I'm sorry, Simon. They all declined for the meeting. They didn't want to take you back or whatever. But that was that big. I remember I had the president of European Athletics on the phone. Like, he really apologized. He can't do anything or whatever. But that was that big in France with medias that was going crazy everywhere. They were really mad. They put a huge pressure. Like, I remember, like 2 days later, they had another meeting, like I think it was at 9 p.m. on a Sunday night. So that was like something crazy. And I remember I had a call at 11 p.m. on a Sunday night from the dean of the French Federation, let's say, and saying, Simon, it's good, you're back in and whatever.
What was your reaction to that?
I was like, I was in the sofa, I was like, damn, that's crazy. So I just said to my family, and they was just so happy, but I was really tired because the previous three nights of that I haven't slept. And
so the relief must have been so strong to, like, the weight off your shoulders.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. And especially at that point, like, I was thinking there is no way anymore, especially like 2 days earlier I had the president of
So then at that point it's like it's not happening.
That's over. So I remember especially I went out in a party just try to have fun, to try to remove these bad feelings to me, just to think about something else. And I remember I was like really hungover when I knew the news, like, say, yeah, you're back in the team. It's like, oh, okay, I need to be back to training, to be back at sleeping and whatever. So yeah, that took a lot off of my body. And especially like all the journalists that contacted me during that weekend, I was like, yeah.
That's crazy.
That was just crazy. That was a crazy experience, yeah.
A stressful time that ended up positive, but it sort of feels like you didn't need to go through that stress in the first place. If they'd just been right, then you never would have had those problems.
And what felt crazy is like after all this happening, I felt that I didn't deserve to be there anymore, when I was on the starlight, I was like, wow, they all fight for me, but maybe at the end of the day, I don't deserve it. Even if I run 3 times the standard and I really deserve to be there, I pretty much convinced myself, it's like, yeah, it's because you don't deserve to be there.
So almost knocked your confidence a little bit?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, oh, maybe I should not be there or whatever, even if I should be there.
You definitely should be there.
Yeah. So yeah, that was crazy. And I think I used this like strength and all this like anger with me, and that's why like I was pretty happy with the outcome of the race at the end.
If you've ever thought about taking Jog On one step further, at the heart of Jog On is community. So around the year, we hold meetups at various races across the UK and now in other countries too. Go to thisisjogon.com, click on meetups. If you ever wanted to come along, meet some fellow Jog On crew and go for that run. Let's talk about the potential of Olympic qualification at the time. Paris, it was this was always going to be a huge year. I guess for you, from what I understand, is that if people don't know, the standard for 5,000 was about 13:05, was that kind of cutoff. At the time, you were in the kind of 13:30 sort of range, is that correct?
Yeah.
And you were saying that 25 seconds, 27 seconds, whatever it was a big, big chunk to get off.
Yeah.
If you ever had any hope for going to the Olympics, how big was that hope and how much were you like, realistically, this is too big a gap? What was your mindset on that?
I knew that was like only a tiny chance, because 27 seconds within a year at that level for a 5K, it's a lot. Of course, if you just start training and you run the first 5K of 20 minutes, you can know maybe in a year from now, you can maybe run 18 minutes. But at level, when you run 13:32, you can't imagine that you're gonna run, let's say, 13 the following year. So I knew that would be like a huge, huge, huge challenge. And especially I just turned pro like only a year before Olympics. The thing is, like, I knew that would be hard. I would maybe have like maybe a 1% stage of chance to make it. But the thing is, like, it was in France, so everyone was talking to me about that every day.
Yeah, I can imagine. That must have been a bit...
As a French guy, that was hard. Like,
a high-level runner who is French, Olympics in Paris.
Exactly. So like
Simon.
Everyone was talking about that. So at the end of the day, it's like, I'm going to try to qualify, but I knew it would be hard. I mean, I train hard to make it as much as I can. Even in a race, I try to go hard, try to go on the standard as long as I can. And I think I died like a mile to go. So I was not ready for that. And I kind of knew it, but that was putting a lot of pressure on me and to many, many French athletes I know that I have relationship with. And they all talk to me, it's like, it's hard. Like every people talk to us about that every day because of course, we are French athletes and there is Olympic Games coming within a year. And so, of course, everyone talks about it. But I know it was hard because even not making it. So I was saying, like, I'm not going to go to Olympics to watch it if I'm not qualified. So the first few days, I didn't go to Olympics. And at the end of the day, I got some ticket. And I say, like, this is just a crazy, crazy experience. You have to go and watch it even if you're not participating. So I did go there to watch the last 2 days of tracks. And that was great. I loved it, because I had a lot of friends running there. It's hard when you say, like, I know I didn't have the level to be there, but I know some friend I run with, and I'm not far from those guys, and it's hard to watching from the stands, actually.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah.
Your personal best is now at 13:15, so you got within 10 seconds of it. So even though it wasn't the 27-second jump, you still made a big jump this year. So can you look back with some pride at the time you did run, because you did improve and you ran such a good time anyway?
I was really happy of my year, actually. So I improved my 15 by, I think, 17 seconds. So I was really good. My 5K by 17 seconds. And the big jump was mostly on the 10K. I improved by more than, I think, like 35 seconds or something. So it was like a huge jump. So I was really happy by my times. Actually, this year I PB on the 3K, 5K and 10K. I was really happy and I qualified for Europeans and I finished 9th at Europeans. So I was really happy. That close to be 8th to be finalist in Europeans. So that's, let's say, the downside of it. But I was really, really happy with my year.
Yeah.
Just, let's say, Olympics would have been like the sweet spot, let's say. But
absolutely.
You can't get everything.
Now that Olympics has passed, does your attention start to turn to 4 years' time? Have you started to let yourself think about that and think about, well, I'm 27 now, like it's kind of perfect timing to set yourself up for this 4-year run now full-time, now a professional. What do you think about 4 years from now, maybe?
I mean, my goal is to go to LA, definitely. So LA 2028 Olympic Games.
Can you say what distance?
It's hard to say because I'll see how I improve over the years, but I'll say 5 or 10K, maybe more 10K, even if 10K is the hardest distance to qualify for Olympic Games because they only pick 27 people, rather than other distances, they take more like 50 to 40 people.
Because there's only one final, they don't do
exactly. They don't do it. So there is no prelim, so it's straight final. So that's why it's harder to qualify.
Will that 13:05 standard go down again for Los Angeles, do you think?
Oh, I think it's going to go down, yeah. I think by then it's going to go down to maybe between 12:55 and 12:58. I don't know.
Wow.
It's already go down. Because I can check, like, with my times, I would have qualified for Rio with my time for the 5K and my time for the 10,000. So, yeah, every year it's going down, going down, going down.
It feels like you're always chasing this
Yeah,
thing,
always
this line
chasing
that
it.
keeps moving and you're
Yeah.
chasing it.
Because the level is just going up every single time.
exactly.
So, yeah, that's really, really deep. In the 4 years where I can be, I don't know exactly because, let's say, I don't know my limits. I don't know where I can be exactly. But I think I can run faster. And I think, yeah, my goal is to qualify to LA. Especially, I live there for 2 years. So it would be great to be back to LA.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Of course, you have that connection to it
Yeah,
as well. It's America,
definitely.
you know it well. We talked about the goal of LA. Alongside that, you know, for world-class 5,000 runners, the sub 13 is this big kind of standard, you know. Do you sometimes look at that time and think, I would love to one day run that sub 13?
Yeah, I would love, but I always think like it's just impossible. Every time
Because
I
it's
say
so
that.
fast.
It's so fast. And I remember like 3 years ago, I was trying to break 14. So it's crazy to say that. But
Are you patient with it though? Are you able to play the long game and sit in
Yeah.
and think it'll happen when it happens? I just have to put the work in.
yeah, everything. To tell you, like pretty much at beginning of every years, I try to set my goals. And almost every year I hit my goals. So I'm not the kind of guy who's like, oh, yeah, next year I'm breaking 13. Or next year I'm breaking 27, 10 or whatever.
Just little steps.
Because, yeah, it's always little steps. And I know what I'm doing. And for example, last year my goal was to break, my PB was 28.16 and my goal was to break 27.50. And I broke it because I ran 27.42. This year my goal also was to break 13.20. I ran 13.15. So I was really happy with that. Of course, the coach I feel he's more angry than me. He's like, oh yeah, no, you need to break. Next year, you need to break 13.05. You can do it. And I always think like it's impossible, but I trust him. He's going to give me the workouts and the training to break 13.05. So I hope I can break 13.05 next year.
You come originally from Brittany, an area of France that you were saying is possibly not as big as some people realize. And it's a patriotic area. People who come from Brittany tend to be quite proud they're from Brittany. And it seems even when you research your name, Google your name, things come up that are more like local news as well. So there's obviously some pride there that Simon Bédard is from Brittany. For you, have you found that Brittany has given you a lot of support? And do you get a lot of love from Brittany?
Yeah, the thing is like, there's 2 states in France that people are really patriot is like Brittany and Corsica. Yeah, I can see the support from that state. That's why like I really want to stay in this state because some people can like run for like a different teams or whatever, different clubs outside of their states. And that's why I really like a strong attached to that state. So that's why I really want to stay there. I can feel like the love and the support from mostly not maybe, yes, a lot from Brittany, but also like from my local area, like friends, family, and like around where I live, I can see the support, yeah.
You've broken some big Brittany records, some that stood for as much as 35 years, the 3,000, the 5,000, 10,000. For you, is it almost like those are as important to you as some of the bigger goals as well? Because Brittany means a lot to you. So to have the Brittany record, does that mean a lot to you?
That means a lot for me, and that will mean a lot for like Brittany people. But that doesn't mean anything, let's say, for other people from different states. Because let's say if there is a guy coming from Normandy or like different state or from Paris, they actually don't watch those kind of like state record or whatever. But as we say, like in Brittany, we really patriot. So this is something, especially the state cross country in France, in Brittany, is like massive. Like we call that the world cross country of Brittany, let's say. Because it's such a massive thing. The atmosphere, it's crazy. There's like between 5,000 and 10,000 people watching like just a state level race, rather than for some state there is like 500 people watching the race. That's it. So this is just massive. In Brittany, we love, like, we really patriot and about running, and not only running for sports and for culture, we really patriot for many things. And that's why I love running back home. Yeah, this is something I really like, and yeah, that's one of my goals, to get those records.
Simon, it's been really great to live with you for 2 weeks as well at altitude. It's been a real pleasure.
Sure.
And it's great to finally wrap up with talking with you, and I will be looking forward to following your career.
Sweet.
And I wish you all the best in the next few years, and hopefully at some point we can meet up again and have another conversation. It'd be really
Definitely.
nice to.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Simon, pleasure.
Pleasure as well.
JOG ON is beginning to offer more resources to help you improve with your running. From free cheat sheets to effective training plans, you can find it all at thisisjogon.com. Thank you for watching and listening. I'm Harry Morgan. Go for that run. And this is JOG ON.